What's up, guys? Sub-Zero here, covering a big set 7.5 leak. It's all the new champions, all the new traits, everything that's removed. PBE is coming out on Wednesday, so this is generally when stuff gets leaked. So let's just hop right into it. There's a little promo thing: Dragonlance, Uncharted Realms. I don't know what that really means. But yeah, first thing I want to go over is everything that is being removed. Usually remove a bunch of champions during mid-set, and this one is no different. So I'm not going to go over every single one. Some really big things that are getting removed. Revel is getting removed, Legends and Trainer. So Sona and Corki, both being 4-cost Rebels, are coming out. Pike got removed as well, the only 5-cost that's coming out. Some of the 1-costs. All the trainers, of course, Heimerdinger, Tristana, Lulu coming out. Nami, rest in peace. She was definitely insane for like the entirety of set 7, so kind of makes sense. Some other stuff like Kayn, who was never really like a carry because he was Shimmer Scale, Jinx, Ashe. Yeah, I'm not like too torn up about most of this stuff coming out, honestly. Nothing really crazy. I guess like Elise. I wish I had played more Elise this set because I think she's actually a really cool carry, but she was never like broken or anything, but she was always situationally good. So Ragewing emblem is coming out. It's becoming Lagoon emblem, which we'll talk about. Frozen Heart is getting replaced. This is huge. It's becoming Fimbulwinter. So it still gives armor, mana, and starting mana, but once per combat, 50% health. Allies within 3 hex gain 30% maximum HP shield that lasts up to 3 seconds. Shielded allies gain 10 AD and AP for the rest of the combat. So completely different, right? Frozen Heart is completely dead, and we have this replacement now that's kind of like it buffs your allies that are around this unit, AD and AP, and a big shield, 30% max HP. It's a pretty big shield, so it's a very interesting item. Kind of like if your comp is really like grouped up, maybe you can put it on something in your like backline and it'll just buff all your backliners, or you can put it on your frontline, buff your frontliners. It'd be interesting to see how this actually gets used. And Shojin looks like it's getting changed. Okay. 15 mana AP, against 30 bonus AP, and attacks restore 5 additional mana. Okay, so they're taking out a little bit of the additional mana, but they're giving it more AP. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's not like, doesn't seem like too insane, but like seems decent. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm interested to see how this plays out. But yeah, Spear of Shojin changed, just a bit of a power shift. So I mean, the units are gonna be casting less, but their casts are gonna be more important. I guess maybe that has something to do with some of the units that are coming in. I guess we'll see. All right, so that's everything that is being taken out. Let's go into what is being added, and the first thing we're gonna do is look over all the traits. Okay, so one huge thing is that a lot of the traits, their breakpoints are changed. So I actually don't see any here, but maybe in the next ones we can talk more about that. Another big thing is, so Astral people who are Astral haters are like, oh my god, Astral is still in this set. I'm gonna have to deal with 3-star, Lux and stuff. But Astral is completely different. Now it's after each player combat you gain an Astral Orb. And the star level of your units increases the quality of the orb. So still something that wants you to be rerolling and hitting your 3-star units. So still the same kind of identity, but completely different in that there's no more Astral Shop. You just get this orb that gives you some gold, and I don't know, maybe you can get items out of it. I'm not really sure how exactly it works based on this. But I think that's a much healthier version of Astral. Still maintains the idea of Astral as a reroll champ, or a reroll trait, but much more healthy. So I'm happy to see that. Okay. Here is the next trait. This is a completely new trait, Dark Flight. The unit in the Dark Flight hex is sacrificed at the start of combat, granting a copy of a random item they have to each Dark Flight champion and bonus health to each. And then non-craftable ones become Dark Flight Essence, which gives just stats. Okay, and they just get flight HP. So that's really, really cool, right? You put a unit in the hex, it gets sacrificed, and then it gives that item to your other Dark Flight units. That's really cool. It's kind of like Mirage, right? In that I'm pretty sure Swain here, this is a dragon, Swain Dragon Tyrant. We'll get into that later. But it's a 2/4/6, but you need Swain to play 6. You can't really play 4 without the emblem. Exactly kind of like how Mirage is, where it's probably going to be a bit hard to play early, but maybe at like level 7 you can play around 6 Darkflight with Swain and these guys. So yeah, it seems very similar to Mirage in how their traits are sort of like distributed. But really, really cool that you sack. And I mean, I can't really imagine 2 and 4 Darkflight being super broken, right? Like, you sack a unit and give that item to another one. But like, if there's only one, then you're just moving that item over. But if you have like 4 Darkflight units in, you sack your Rel and then give that item to your 3 other champions. Now that seems really, really cool. So that seems awesome. Okay, here is a huge change. The Dragon trait. So dragons still require 2 slots. But no longer does it say that you can only have 1 dragon. So they still provide 3 to their marked traits, and you get additional bonuses based on how many dragons you have. This is like, this is an insanely huge change, because no longer is it, like a lot of people complain about dragons, they weren't very flexible. If you have a Shioyu in and you see a Siphon in your shop, you're never going to play Siphon, right? Because you already have Shioyu, and you'd have to sell Shioyu. However, because of this, now you can play your Shioyu and your Siphon together on the same board. Really, really cool. And then, if you get multiple dragons, there's some really big bonuses, right? I mean, 20 armor and Amar is fine, 10 bonus damage, +1 team size at 4 dragons. So, you're taking 8 slots, but you get basically like a 9th slot. And then if you can even get to 5 dragons, which, obviously seems very difficult, you need 10 team slots, but you will get an extra one. Then, I mean, you can do this. I guess you can, if you have 9 team slots, right? You fit in 4 dragons, they give you the +1, and then you make 10. So you could do it at level 9 just regularly. But I mean, double the previous stat bonuses seems nuts. And I guess that means a stat bonus. Okay, so you don't get like another slot for getting 5 in, but double all these bonuses seemed huge. So I'm excited to see some all dragon comps. I think like the Dragon Horde, Dragon Alliance comps from this set were really, really fun to play around. So it's really cool to see more of this kind of stuff. So yeah, Guild, Jade, exactly the same. There's some new units in them, of course, but I'll go over that in the unit section. So let's move on to the rest of the traits. Oh yeah, we got tons of traits to go through. Okay, so another big, huge vertical is Lagoon. Okay, so it's like they're like water types. I imagine Zac is gonna be like Pool Party Zac. Same thing with like Talia, that kind of stuff. Lagoon units gain bonus AP and attack speed. A Sea Stone appears on the board and grants loot as Lagoon units cast abilities over time. I don't really know what this means. It's pretty hefty stat bonuses, right? 20% attack speed to 3, for 6, 40% attack speed and 40 AP is like a lot of stats. Okay, and so this like, it's a thing that's going to appear on the board and then it's going to give you loot. Is that like a unit that has, is it like Jade Statue where like the Sea Stone can die? It also cares about them casting abilities. So does this mean that like the more they cast the abilities, the more stuff you get? Which means that like, say, maybe like Talia has a low mana cost or something and you can make her cast a lot? I'm not really sure, honestly. It looks really interesting and I love any trait that says loot in it. Anything that's going to grant me items or gold, I love. So this seems really fun, and it's a huge vertical, right? It's 8 units, so definitely seems really interesting, and I like a lot of these units. It's really cool to have Seraphine Mac, Kaisa, Talia. Oh my god, I'm hyped. All right, we have Monolith, which is just for Terra, which is a new dragon, looks like. Monoliths create 3 hexes on the battlefield. Units standing in the hex at the start of combat gain 20% damage reduction. So it's kind of like a and I wonder if it's the same hex every time or if it's like Socialite where it's like a different hex. So it could be just random hexes. I'm not really sure based on this. I'm guessing that it's random, but I mean, I guess we'll see. But it's like a tanky Socialite. And you can also like put your carry in it if you want them to survive, or you can put your like frontline in it to make them tankier. Seems really cool, really fun to position around. I like kind of stuff like this that makes you have to make interesting positioning choices. All right, and then Prodigy. Namzi is graduated from being just a little dragon that's getting fed. Namzi is a champion now, I believe. So Namzi is a Prodigy. Prodigy gains a random trait each game. She summons a former trainer to aid her in battle who also gains this trait. So instead of the trainer summoning Namzi summons the trainers. That's really cool. They get the ability power of Namzi, and when they die, the trainers get a bunch of attack speed. And so Namzi is going to get one of Mage, Cannoneer, Evoker, and then I guess it's going to summon, the corresponding unit. So, if she's Mage, then she'll summon Heimerdinger, Cannoneer, summon Tristana. Really, really weird. I have no clue how this is going to play out. It seems really cool that you can tech in a Namzi and add like an extra like Mage. So she gets this trait. I guess the unit that she summons, doesn't really count as a real unit on your board, but this seems really fun as well. I think really, really strange. Like, I have not really seen anything like this that it's kind of like Mirage in that it's different every game, but also it also summons another unit. So it's like Mirage plus it summons a unit. Really cool. And then, of course, like, this will impact how you play these comps, right? Like, if you're playing mages and Namzi is a mage, then that completely shifts how you actually play around this comp. Same for Cannoneers and some kind of Evoker comp. That seems really, really interesting. And also, so Namzi is a dragon, I think. So, I mean, that hugely shifts how all of these comps play. Like, I wonder how different playing mage is when Namzi is a mage, because you can just get that +3 mage by playing Namzi, versus when Namzi isn't a mage. Really, really interesting. I'm very hyped for this. And then everything else here is the same. Let's move on. Looks like all of these are the same, so that's cool. And all of these are the same as well. Okay, so yeah, we keep the same like classes or origins. I forget which one is which, but like a few new of these. So that's cool. All right, let's move into some more of the meat. It is the champions. Okay, so 1 cost first. We have Malphite. He's a Lagoon Bruiser, so he's kind of like remember Lagoon is like the AP, cares about spell cast, gives AP and attack speed, but he's a frontline for it. 90 out of 90, so that's a lot of mana. And it's a shield. Okay, so he shields himself for 5 seconds. So this is kind of, because didn't Thomas Kench got removed, right? Yeah, so this makes me think kind of like analogous to Tom Kench. Big frontliner that's going to give himself a shield. So though Tom Kench dealt damage with his ability, Malphite is just a big beefy tank. So, and with pretty, like, a lot of mana to cast. So it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, just seems to me like a very good frontliner. There's also another 1 cost Lagoon Mage, so maybe there's some kind of Lagoon reroll comp. I don't know, we'll get into it. Okay, so Nasus Shimmer Scale Guardian. Okay, that's interesting. So kind of like frontliner for Guardian, for Shimmer Scale. You could see having a much stronger frontline, actually. One of the weird things to me about when you played Shimmer Scale early in this set, if you get 3 Shimmer in early, is that you couldn't really have a good frontline. You had like Atrox, but there's no, like, between Atrox, Volibear, and Kayn in, set 7 base, there's no frontliner, really. I mean, like, Aatrox is a frontliner, but he doesn't have a trait that gives him tankiness. Whereas Guardian, Nasus can actually be, like, more of a frontliner, so it's more realistic to just play 3 Shimmer Scale at the start and have, like, maybe even a strong board. We'll see. 0 out of 100, so huge mana cost, and it looks like his ult. He surrounds himself in light for 6 seconds, giving, oh my god, like, a lot of max HP, and dealing magic damage to adjacent enemies every second. Wow, that's a pretty, like, huge ability for a 1 cost, right? It's very, like, dramatic, and I feel like there will be fights where he just might not even cast. I mean, 0 out of 100, that's, like, a lot of mana. Really, really quite interesting. Oh yeah, and the important thing about Malphite is he's 90 out of 90, so he'll cast immediately at the start of the fight and get that shield. But yeah, Nasus has to get to 100 to cast. Really, really interesting. But it's cool. He gets a bunch of max health and deals magic damage to adjacent enemies. So it's kind of like Sunfire Cape without the, like, healing reduction. So you really want him to be in the middle of a bunch of units. So something like a Gargoyle seems like really, really good on him, where you can just, like, ideally, if he can live, you solo frontline him. All the enemy units group around him. He has a Gargoyle, so he has a ton of HP. And, well, not HP, but stats that will make him tanky. He'll use the ult, get a bunch of HP, so that'll scale really well with the resists, and he'll be dealing magic damage to everyone. So that seems like a really good item on Nasus. Really, really cool 1 cost. Very dramatic ability for 1 cost. Okay, Talia, 0 out of 60, so pretty low mana cost. She throws 3 sea stones at her target, dealing damage to the first enemy hit. Okay, so just like Talia's Q in League, it's not AoE at all. It just deals damage to the first enemy hit. It's like a decent amount of damage, right? 170 per rock, and it's 3 rocks at 1 star, and then 240 at 2 star. Seems like quite a bit of damage, actually, if they all, hit the same unit. It targets her target, so it matters what unit she's hitting, right? It's not like the furthest enemy or something, it's the unit that she is autoing, so that's something very important as well. And it's a low mana cost, so maybe something like a blue buff would be fine on her. And their last 1 cost, Wukong, Jade Warrior. Okay. Crushing Blow, so he slams his target with his staff, doing physical damage, and stunning them. Okay, so he's like a warrior, kind of like CC frontliner. He scales with AD, but he also has this stun on him, so it's kind of interesting. He's not like that much of a carry, but he provides a lot of CC. So another kind of like frontliner for Jade. It's kind of interesting, Jade having a warrior, because I don't think Jade really has any other synergy with any of the warriors. So I guess it matters. Some stuff has gotten taken out. Like, what even is warrior now? Wukong, Yone, Olaf, Pantheon, Yasuo. Okay. But yeah, like, Jade doesn't really have any synergy with Mirage. It doesn't have any synergy with Galescorn, right? I mean, no, I mean, Jade has, no, though Terra got taken out. Okay, I won't try to speculate about all the combinations of stuff, but it sounds like an interesting ability. Okay, on to 2 costs. A lot of new 2 costs. I know you can't see the bottom part of this, so I'll just talk through when I get there. Okay, Aphelios. I love Aphelios. He's one of my favorite units in set 5. I don't know what ability this is. 80 out of 130, so he'll cast pretty quickly. He's a cannoneer that's Dark Flight, okay? He uses an Infernum cannon to blast bolts in a cone towards his target, okay? They deal physical damage to the first enemy hit. Subsequent hits against the enemy deal 80% less damage. Then he uses Gravitum to stun all enemies hit. Oh, that's crazy. So he's going to cast pretty early into the fight. He's like a CC AD carry. That's quite interesting. Probably Aphelios Aphelios carry, like Reroll, sounds pretty fun. You get a bunch of Aphelios. Like you just get a bunch of stats on Aphelios, give him like a Gwynsu's, and he just keeps auto-attacking, and then once he's stacked up, he's throwing this out and stunning the entire enemy team a bunch of times. Maybe not the whole enemy team. It depends on how big the cone is, I guess. That seems really interesting. Jax. Jax is a Jade Shimmer Scale Bruiser? What? Okay, so there's a Jade Shimmer Scale, and he's a Bruiser. Counter-Strike? Okay, so it's his E. He enters defensive stance, dodging all incoming attacks. Oh my god, people are going to hate this. And then he strikes all enemies, dealing magic damage and stunning them. Oh, there's no people are gonna hate. I mean, at least he's a 2 cost, and because he's Shimmer Scale, you're probably not going to see him like 3-star that often. Like there was no Shimmer Scale reroll comp in this set, just because you really want like a lot of Shimmer Scales. So I doubt that they're gonna like. It's gonna be, but maybe there could be some kind of Jax reroll comp. I don't know, but I imagine people would hate this if he became really huge and he just, is entering Counter-Strike, dealing a bunch of damage, then he heals up, enters Counter-Strike again. It's 100 mana, which is a lot, but there's definitely a world where if you put like Gwynsu's Titans on this guy, like Gwynsu's Titans BT or something like that, and he just stacks himself up, then uses E, does magic damage, stuns people, stacks it back up, does it again. This could be very frustrating. It's really cool though. Seems really fun to play, but definitely could be frustrating to play against. Right. Kai'Sa, she's a Lagoon Dragonmancer, so she could just be a Lagoon Dragonmancer carry. You could play like Kai'Sa carry, I imagine. She fires 4 missiles split between her target and nearby enemies that deal magic damage. This increases by 2 missiles each cast up to 12. Oh my god. So it's like the 5-cost Kai'Sa, except she doesn't dash. But she's a scaling AP carry that you want the fight to go really long because she's going to cast the missiles and then cast again and cast again. So she's different in that Kai'Sa is scaled with her number of attacks. This Kai'Sa scales with number of casts, right? So she wants to cast a lot. Blue buff sounds insane on this unit, right? Oh my god, blue buff Kai'Sa reroll with like Dragonmancers maybe? Or maybe you just play like a Dragonmancer carry? Probably reroll, right? If you're playing around Dragonmancers. You roll at 6 for like Kai'Sa plus some other stuff, slap a blue buff on her and some damage items that she just casts a bunch of times, does a bunch of damage to her target and nearby enemies, so she can shred the entire enemy or just kill the entire enemy team. And then once you get to the max stacks, she's dealing more damage. It seems so fun as well. I can't wait to play with this unit. God, I love when any new set of TFT comes out. Oh my goodness. Okay. Next we got Lux. So she is an Astral Mage, so kind of replacing that Nami slot and that Vladimir slot. There's no, there used to be Vladimir plus Nami, but now there's no 1-cost Astral Mage, so interesting. 0 to 60, she fires a star towards the farthest enemy, dealing magic damage to the first enemy struck and less to subsequent enemies. So it's kind of like, it's like Lux Q, but it doesn't stun at all. It's just damage. She could be just, carry and Astrals and Mages. That, makes perfect sense if you reroll for her a 3-star, or she could just be a fine unit. You probably don't really care that much about playing her late game if she's not a carry, because she has no CC whatsoever. She's just a damage unit. But yeah, 0 to 60, pretty low mana cost. Something like a blue buff could be fine on her as well. Yeah, seems like a lot more blue buff holders in this set than last set. Though I guess we'll have to see at the higher cost as well. Alright, we got Rel. She's a Cavalier and a Dark Flight, 0 to 70 Iron Bond. So she tethers between herself and the lowest percent health ally, dealing magic damage to all enemies between herself and her bound ally. She also grants herself 40% armor, herself and her ally 40% her current armor and MR. This is interesting. She binds between herself and the lowest percent health ally, and you want enemies to be between her. Assassin Rel. That's what it's all about. No, but like you could put her you imagine your front line and you have them in like a line. You put her on one edge and the other unit on another edge, and then she like binds through here and then maybe hit some units. It's interesting. Or maybe you put her like far right, the other one far left, and then Rel starts like going up one side, and then she ends up like binding as well. Really interesting because the lowest percent health ally, so it's usually me binding towards frontline. Seems like an ability that actually like there's so much you can do with positioning to make this better. So it seems really, really cool. Yeah, I like this a lot. And I'm interested to see how Darkflight ends up playing out. Zach, oh my god, Zach was one of my mains in League for a long time. So really hype to see him in TFT. He's a Guardian, which feels a little bit weird to me with the like identity of Guardians. I feel like Guardians are units with like shields in the current set. Though I guess Thresh, not really. But like Zach to me seems like a bruiser. But whatever. He's a Lagoon Guardian. He explodes outwards towards enemies within 2 hexes, dealing their max health as magic damage and healing himself. Okay. So he's like a tank that could infinitely, like scale up and heal himself. He's a tank that heals himself. Really interesting. Okay, and you want him to be in the middle of a bunch of units, but it doesn't matter, right? Like this just makes him hit more units. It's not like he heals more based on how many units he hits. That seems really interesting. And he's Lagoons, he's gonna get that extra AP. I wonder, like Zach, reroll. I wonder what Guardian you would play with like Lagoons. Not Nasus, not Leona. I don't know. We'll have to find out, I guess. Rom. I don't know. It may be some kind of Lagoon with Guardians comp. Sounds really interesting. He seems like a great frontliner though. Right. And then last but not least is Zyra, 60 out of 120. And I know you can't see this little bit because it's blocked by my face cam. That's the only one that's going to be blocked, so I'll just read it. So she summons vines in the row with most enemies, dealing magic damage and stunning them for this long. 300, 400, 575 is what this says, by the way. I'll also have a link in the description to all this, so you guys can check it out as well. Okay, so she is set 6, Zyra. That seems hype. This unit was kind of a legendary unit because she did it in the entire row, right? So like late game, this unit is actually insane, right? When the enemy team has just like all backlined a bunch of units, like a Zyra can just wreck your entire team. So I'm excited to see her come back. It was a very impactful spell, and yeah, I'm hyped to see it come back.